going on. Pretty much out here coming from the meat market, Springfield, Mass. 90 Meat Outlet. Shout out. Pretty much, I'm on here to just talk about, raw meat and shit. No disrespect to anybody that posted any channels about raw meat for dogs or talked about, how to feed raw meat, the barf diet, whatever. And definitely no disrespect to anybody that feed kibble. I don't feed kibble, but when meat ain't around, the shit's there. You know what I'm saying? You can't knock it. But meat always gonna be around, of course. Anyway, pretty much my topic for today: all-terrain kennels, all-terrain terriers. It's pretty much, the fact that people are bringing up topics about wolves, you know what I mean? Like comparing wolves to dogs, and all that shit definitely makes sense. But what we got to be careful with is when you start saying things that aren't really necessarily true. You know what I'm saying? It really ain't true to an extent. Regardless how you put it. A lot of times feelings get mixed up with knowledge and shit. We gotta watch that. Gotta watch that. You can't be putting feelings into education and knowledge. So I'm gonna go right into it. So when we dealing with wolves, we dealing with all types of breed. You can't just bring up wolves when you talk about dogs. You gotta talk about wild dogs too. There's African wild dogs, Australian wild dogs. Wild dogs were found on continents other than wolves. If they didn't have a wolf, they had a type of dog. Like you go to the islands, a dog that was actually brought from travelers from Africa called a Basenji. If you look that dog up, Basenji. Not to get off the wolf topic, but bringing up the Basenji, the reason why I bring that dog up is because the way they fed that dog particularly, because this were hunter-gatherers, the dog ate what they ate. And these people didn't always eat meat. Understand that. If meat wasn't found, they had to go to staple food. Staple food was fruit, grains, and greens. And also small reptiles and insects. Fish as well. Back then, fish wasn't considered game during tribal times. It is now, dealing with the game warden and park rangers and environmental awareness when you're dealing with protective species as far as hunting and fishing. But back then, fish weren't considered game. It was considered, low staple food. It still is in some countries, funny enough. But that's what the dog was eating, And these were dogs domesticated to hunt. But the funny thing is, these dogs, when I read, they weren't actually living in the amongst the village or in the tribe of these islands, or in these villages in Africa. They were literally wild still to some extent. Like what I'm saying is they lived out in the jungle or in the woods, and then when they were called, they knew why they were called, because they knew it was time to hunt with man. The dogs knew and they learned they had better chances of hunting with man than just with themselves, and of course man knew the same. So it was an agreed symbiotic relationship based on semi-domestication, trust, and submission. And what I mean by submission is not that the animal submitted to the human, it is the submission of the human giving up food, which isn't known in the animal kingdom. Food isn't just given up in the animal kingdom. It's either taken or you're killed for it. That's it. We got to remember that. Food is only given up from mother to young. So a lot of these dogs were already, in a sense, omnivorous. Okay? So when it comes to dogs eating greens and stuff like that, and people discrediting, if wolves ever did it. Yeah, wolves have been found with all type of fungus and mushrooms, ferns, and everything in their gut. Another good fact to know is that wolves actually save the inside of the intestines, the tripe. They give it to the babies for probiotics. If you know anything about probiotics, especially horse probiotics, is good for dogs. Helps maintain good stool release, not too watery, not too dry, not too much, pretty much, just feeding your dog and it's just, shitting everywhere. But the tripe was prized. And all that really is ungurgitated, not really broken down, but broken down plant matter. Like you would have in your blender after you make juice with vegetables and fruit. Leftover stuff that we throw out. But it still have something in it. We just can't get to it. So that's why people started making more powerful juicers to break down everything, just about except seeds. So back to the meat part. When wolves will hunt, you gotta understand, when wolves hunt, they not hunting a variety of different animals and laying it down on the ground and okay, everybody, this is what we're gonna do. They hunt one particular animal and they share it amongst themselves. Okay? Whether they hunting that animal over and over again, they're not just hunting a bunch of animals and just, laying it down. It's not something like storing nuts with squirrels, or other mammals that forage. Insects hunt hand to mouth. They don't really store food unless you're a spider. But when it comes to wolves, they hunt that one game, and it has to be shared out amongst, the rest of the pack. And what am I getting at here? What I'm trying to get at, without trying to disrespect anybody, is the fact that a lot of people bring up how other people are harming their dog the way they feed them because, you just give your dog chicken legs, or you're not giving your dog this in order. The dog's supposed to have this and the third. I mean, that is fine and dandy. If you have more than one dog and you're breeding and you have say you have 10 dogs. Normally people that have 10 dogs, they probably have, I'm gonna say 5 studs or 4 studs and the rest females, right? Normally that's how it works, or sometimes it's reverse. If I think I got it, sometimes it's reverse. So what I'm saying is, who's ever breeding at that time needs the most protein, vitamins, minerals, calcium, probiotics, etc. Right? So The whole kennel don't need to get that at that time, because unless you're just trying to have like, you know, a shitload of litters at once, I mean, that's up to you. A lot of times that's not what's going on. You know, there's care, focus, and attention that's, you know, definitely need to come with all of this. So having 3 litters at once really probably doesn't work for some people. You know what I mean? I wouldn't do it, and I know a lot of well-known breeders wouldn't do it either. So when it comes to food, that particular source of food is going to be given to those studs or that particular stud. Now in a wolf pack, that stud is the alpha, because he's the only one that's breeding at this time, right? Now they just taking on the elk, a deer, whatever, a ram, whatever, right? Now mind you, you're talking about a barf diet, you're talking about bone, artery, you know, the R part represents for me raw meat, and the F part represents, you know, fish or fern, meaning green. Now, somebody brought up dogs not eating fish. We're going to get to that with wolves, right? Okay. So, when a wolf hunts a deer, right, takes it down, that has to be shared out amongst the pack. Now, remember, if you're the lowest at the pack, you're not getting heart, okay? Listen to me carefully. You're not getting heart. You're not getting liver. You know, you're not getting the brain. You're not getting that, right? You're not getting the fattest leg. You're going to be getting tendons. You might get a piece of leg, tail. You might get the meat from the back, and you're getting ribs. That's what you're getting. That's what you're getting. And those dogs still look healthy. Why? They still have to work with the pack. They still have to catch food. They still have to fight with the pack. So the alpha is not just sitting there eating all the good food, and he got a bunch of weak, you know, wolves with him. But he still has to keep it up a notch over all of other wolves. And how does he do that? Because he eats the brain, he eats the heart, he eats the liver. Okay? Now the triplet stuff, like I said, is shared out amongst them, but it's mostly regurgitated back to the babies. Alright? Or the mother eats it, you know, if she's nursing and shit. Now, somebody said, it's not good to feed your dogs every day. And somebody tried to blast that person for that. That's a fact. In the wild, if you compare when they give you the estimate lifespan of a lion kept in captivity compared to lions in the wild, 2 factors. One, no competition for food, meaning they don't get harmed or they don't really have to fight for it, because sometimes the food fight back and they get injured. If a zebra kicks a lion in the jaw, that's it. A lion will starve to death. He can't drink water or he can't eat meat to survive. That's it. He will die within 3 days to a week. Other than that, sometimes the hunt isn't always successful. Do you know the only creature on this planet that has a successful hunt rate over a lion and a wolf is a dragonfly? Dragonflies only miss 1 time. So they have a 95.9% hunt rate. Every time they hunt, they always catch prey. Everything else that hunts loses. Look it up. You see a mantis, praying mantis, as fast as it is, sometimes it misses. A spider sometimes misses. You know, a lot of stuff miss. But the dragonfly is one that doesn't. It has a kill rate higher than a lion or a wolf. So what does that tell you? Wolves don't eat every day, all right? Or they don't eat what they hunt. So where does that leave them? They have to go forage, right? They have to become omnivorous, or they have to develop that habit. So they're eating vegetables, you know, well, not really vegetables. They're actually eating roots and stuff that they dig up, tubers, things that have water in it, you know, starch, Some type of vitamin C. Let me see, mushrooms. They try to swell up on those. They eat frogs. They eat a lot of frogs. They eat worms. They don't really mess with snakes too much, but they do eat frogs, and they eat fish. Wolves have been seen, catching fish, and also following behind bears that really don't eat all the fish. If you know anything about bears, bears need to gain weight fast. And how do they do that? Is by speed eating. They only eat the high protein parts of the fish and they throw the rest away. So bears only eat the tail, the fin, the head, and the eggs. And what's left? A nice, gutted out salmon. And these salmon are definitely big. They're not little. They're anything from 2 feet to 2.5 feet long. These things are huge. They weigh up somehow they about like 15 pounds or more. We talk about steelhead, sockeye. If you know anything about salmon, this stuff has a lot of protein in it and vitamins. And a pack of wolves could definitely benefit off of that, because bears leave a lot of fish laying around during those times of the year when they're catching fish. Good source of protein. When wolves are coming out of hibernation, wolves have an opportunity to chase away other scavengers, such as birds of prey and scavenger birds. One of the hardest ones is the wolverine, of course. He really don't give two shits about anybody. He will either steal food out of a bear's mouth and wolves' mouth. So wolves eat fish too. Yes, wolves eat insects. Cicadas come out every year, and they come out in the thousands and millions. Everything eats cicada. Squirrels that normally eat nuts and grain, they eat cicada. It's an insect that comes out the ground and it grows an exoskeleton, but after that it mates, it dies, and it just lays there. Doesn't really run fast or fly around, doesn't really have any defenses, it's not poisonous, and a lot of animals benefit off this insect, including wolves. They're very high in protein. It's like dog food. So that's where dogs get their kibble from in the wild. Cicada. So dogs are able to eat kibble because they do have a source of it. Where do dogs get their probiotics, or where do wolves get probiotics from besides tripe? They eat deer poop. Deer pellets actually have a lot of vitamins in it and immunities in it. Deer poop has a lot of medicinal use for dogs, actually, too. If you're out in the woods and you're hunting and you have your dog with you and you're hiking with your dog, see some deer poop, it's good to mix it in with some meat and give to your dog. Look it up so you see what I'm talking about. But what I'm getting at is, you can't get on people because they're feeding their dog fish, or they're feeding their dog just chicken legs, or raw pork is bad. There's worms and a whole bunch of stuff with it. So you definitely want to boil that or smoke that at least. But other than that, it is what it is when it comes to dogs, At one point, they were putting dolphin meat in dog food. And how many people's dogs were surviving off of that and living off of that? So you can't really bring up, who's doing what wrong. When at some point, dogs weren't even eating meat at all. They're eating a source of meat, dolphin, I'll tell you that. Or leftover tuna or whatever. So dogs were eating fish back in the 80s and 90s and early 70s. I think some bits of whale meat too. So the fact of the matter is, feeding raw to your dog is definitely beneficial. It's safe. If you want to boil it, that's good too. Remember, you are boiling out vitamins, so you want to keep that water. And chicken is a good meat to boil because unlike when you boil beef or red meat, there's still fat left over. You can't really get rid of that fat. And that's good to give the dog, especially in the wintertime. It's like antifreeze. Dog food is good, but it doesn't have that fat. It has crude fat. Of course, you got to give the dog a lot of water. And if you know anything, a lot of water keeps the dog cold in the wintertime. It's best to feed your dog more and more food that has moisture in it. So meat, of course, is the best way to make sure your dog is absorbing moisture and not taking in water a lot during the winter time. Summertime and wintertime is a good way to fuck up your dog kidneys. And once you do that, it's a wrap. Especially working dogs. You'll never get that dog back the same. So, let's be careful when we're giving out information. Telling people they're feeding their dog wrong. You got some people that, are definitely thinking they're doing a good job, which they are, if they're just buying chicken legs and a pack of frozen vegetables and, grounding it up and giving to their dogs, along with a few dog treats and some kibble here and there. They're doing the damn thing. You can confuse people. And they'll just give up and be like, oh, I guess I'm doing this barf wrong or this raw fruit diet wrong. Let me just stop. And just mess the whole dog up, Just stop because they think they're doing it wrong. I talk to a lot of people, and sometimes they do buy the wrong stuff. They buy meat that's been trimmed with the fat, no fat on it. That's not good for your dog. But of course, too much fat is good during the summer. So you probably want lean. So you probably just want to use hamburger meat instead of buying steaks and stuff like that. Cube steaks, just buy hamburger meat. They got ground turkey too. Ground turkey is good for dogs that are a little bit on the hyper side. Turkey has natural melatonin in it. It's good to keep hyper dogs calm if you're not in that situation where you want to be all over the place with your dog. It's really not good to have a hyper dog or a working dog if you're not going to work it. But that's another story I'm not going to get into. It is what it is. You love what kind of dog you love, I guess. Kibble is good, but let's be honest. You got to make sure you watch water intake. There's a lot of shit involved with it. If I seen actually a guy, he took dog food and he boiled it, and it actually kind of made sense to me. He took high quality dog food and he boiled it. It's almost like when you take dehydrated food, like when you're in the army, or they call it space food or survival food, and you add water. Some vegan food is like that. They call it veggie chunks. It's dry, and you add water and you eat it like that. I could see dog food being used that way. I think dog food should be. I know it's already cooked and it's dry, but I think it should be added to boiled water and then let sit and then present it to dogs. I think that way too you don't overfeed your dog. If you are feeding a dog because it's concentrated, and you're feeding the dog and you letting it sit in the water, it swells up. That amount should be enough. If you weigh it out towards what you were going to give the dog if it was dry, remember, the dog is consuming it. You're giving the dog water. It swells up in the dog gut, so maybe the dog is shitting out really what it can't hold in, not even really getting the benefit of everything that you're giving the dog. But again, it's my opinion, with some facts mixed in. Of course, comments are always welcome. Not the smartest person, but I definitely know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about it. A lot of people always want to use they went to vet school and stuff to back it up. I did too, but so what? Like, they taught me a lot of bullshit that was wrong, and I'm gonna tell you that. They cannot be trusted. Somebody on here said the only thing the vet is good for is blood work sometimes, and that's true. Especially when it comes to these type of dogs, they're very discriminative and prejudiced, and easy way to make money off a dog, or take it from you. So with that being said, I just got out of traffic. That's good. Take this meat home to these dogs. All-terrain kennels, all-terrain terriers. Your boy Lion Chow. Holla at me when you can. Peace.